Look around your room right now and ask yourself a silent question. How many digital brains are currently watching you, waiting for your command, or keeping your world from falling apart? We often focus on the giants, the high-powered processors in our smartphones and laptops that can render complex graphics and browse the infinite web. But there's a hidden world of silent sentinels, much smaller and much more pervasive, that actually runs the infrastructure of modern life. These are the microcontrollers, the invisible conductors of our technological orchestra. To understand them is to understand the very fabric of the 21st century. Before we dive into this mechanical odyssey, I invite you to join our community by subscribing to this channel, so you never miss another deep dive into the technology that shapes our reality. Have you ever wondered about the true difference between an Arduino and a Raspberry Pi? At a glance, they might look similar, both being green circuit boards with various pins and ports. Yet, they represent two completely different philosophies of computing. The Arduino is the quintessential home for a microcontroller, or MCU, while the Raspberry Pi is essentially a full computer powered by a central processing unit, or CPU. This distinction is not just technical, it is fundamental to how we interact with the physical world. One is built to think deeply and multitask, while the other is built to act decisively and reliably in a single, focused way. A central processing unit is like a brilliant scholar who lives in a house but needs others to bring him food and tools. On its own, a CPU is just a processing engine, requiring external components like dynamic random access memory and massive storage drives to function. It is designed to run complex operating systems like Windows or Linux, juggling thousands of tasks at once. However, this complexity comes at a price as the system becomes bulky and power-hungry. If you want to browse 100 tabs while editing a video, you need a CPU, but if you want to control the temperature of a toaster, a CPU is an expensive and inefficient overkill. In contrast, a microcontroller is like a master craftsman who carries his entire workshop in his pocket. It integrates everything it needs onto a single sliver of silicon, including the processor, the memory, the timers, and the interfaces to the outside world. Because it is self-contained, it can start running its program the microsecond power is applied. There is no waiting for an operating system to boot up, and no risk of a blue screen because a background task crashed. This level of integration makes MCUs the perfect choice for the embedded devices we use every day, from the remote control on your couch to the braking system in your car. The story of the MCU began in the early 1970s, a period of radical innovation in the semiconductor industry. In 1971, Intel made history by releasing the 4004, which is widely recognized as the first commercial microprocessor. However, while Intel was focusing on raw processing power, Texas Instruments was pursuing a more compact vision. They realized that for many applications, a single chip that could do everything was far more valuable than a powerful chip that required a dozen supporting components. The result of this vision was the TMS-1802, a device that integrated a processor, read-only memory, and random access memory into one package. This was the true birth of the microcontroller, a computer on a chip that changed the economics of electronics. Suddenly, complex logic that used to require a massive cabinet of wires could be tucked inside a handheld device. This breakthrough allowed Texas Instruments to dominate the market for electronic calculators, turning a high-end luxury item into a tool that every student could eventually afford. As the 1970s progressed, Texas Instruments expanded their lineup with the TMS-0100 and the TMS-1000 series. These chips were not designed for high-performance computing, but for something much more intimate, the world of play and household convenience. Toy manufacturers were among the first to see the potential, using these microcontrollers to create interactive games that seemed like magic at the time. Consider the Speak and Spell, a toy that could actually synthesize human speech using a tiny, hidden MCU. This was the first time children interacted with an intelligent machine, all thanks to the integration of silicon. Intel, seeing the success of Texas Instruments in the consumer market, realized they could not ignore this growing segment. In 1976, they responded with the 8048, a chip that introduced a critical innovation, the built-in timer. This might sound simple, but in the world of embedded systems, timing is everything. A timer allows a chip to measure the duration of a button press or to wait exactly 10 milliseconds before turning on a motor. With the addition of this feature, the MCU became more than just a calculator. It became a controller for the physical world. The competition intensified in 1978 when Motorola entered the fray with the MC6801. Motorola's approach was to focus on more advanced instructions, such as hardware multiplication, which made the chip much faster at handling mathematical data. They also improved the timers, allowing for even more precise control over mechanical systems. This era of competition was a golden age of engineering, where every few months brought a new architecture that pushed the boundaries of what a single chip could do. The true turning point, however, occurred in the year 1981. This was the year Intel launched the 8051, a microcontroller that would eventually become the most influential architecture in history. The 8051 was not just a piece of hardware, it was a masterclass in design and marketing. Intel made a strategic decision that changed the industry forever. They decided to license the design to other companies. This meant that manufacturers like Philips, Siemens, and several Japanese giants could produce their own versions of the 8051, because so many companies were making 8051 chips. A massive ecosystem of documentation and software tools grew around it. If an engineer learned how to program an 8051, they could find work anywhere in the world. It became the universal language of the embedded industry. Even today, decades later, you can still find modern versions of this architecture running inside everything from industrial sensors to simple household appliances. It is a testament to the power of standardization and the importance of a strong developer community. During the 1980s, the race for dominance moved to the east, as Japanese companies like NEC, Hitachi, and Toshiba joined the MCU market. They adopted the 8051 architecture, but also innovated with their own specialized designs like the 78K and H8 series. This was the era when Japan became the world's factory for consumer electronics. If you owned a high-quality washing machine, a microwave, or a television in the 1980s or 90s, there was a high probability that a Japanese microcontroller was the silent brain inside it. The automotive industry in Japan also played a massive role in driving MCU development. As cars became more complex, they required chips that could survive the extreme heat and vibrations of an engine bay. This demand for automotive-grade reliability pushed companies like Renesas, a merger of several Japanese semiconductor divisions, to the top of the global rankings. Today, Renesas remains a titan in the industry, proving that the foundation laid in the 1980s was built to last for generations. Europe was not far behind in this silicon revolution. Companies like Philips and Siemens, which eventually spun off their semiconductor arms into NXP and Infineon, became powerhouses in their own right. They took the 8051 architecture and optimized it for industrial and automotive applications. If you drive a modern European car, it is likely filled with dozens, if not hundreds, of microcontrollers from these companies, managing everything from your air conditioning to your anti-lock braking system. As these chips became more powerful, they also became more complex to program. In the early days, engineers had to write code in assembly language, which is essentially the raw, cryptic language of the machine. You had to manually move data between registers and keep track of every single bit. It was a painstaking process that required engineers to study technical manuals as thick as phone books. A single mistake could cause the entire system to crash, and debugging was a nightmare that could take weeks. The breakthrough that saved the industry came from a German company called Kiel Software. They developed the first widely successful C compiler for the 8051. This was a game changer because it allowed developers to write code in the C language, which is much closer to human logic than assembly. Suddenly, a program that took 1,000 lines of assembly could be written in a few dozen lines of C. This democratization of software made it possible for more people to enter the field, leading to an explosion of new embedded products. By the early 2000s, however, the venerable 8-bit architectures were starting to hit a wall. Consumers wanted more: color screens, better audio, and faster response times. The old chips simply didn't have enough horsepower to handle these tasks. This led to the rise of 16-bit microcontrollers, such as the PIC-24 from Microchip and the MSP430 from Texas Instruments. These chips offered a significant boost in performance while still maintaining low power consumption, making them ideal for battery-powered medical devices and portable electronics. Despite these advancements, the market remained fragmented. Every company had its own unique architecture and its own set of proprietary tools. If you wanted to switch from a T-chip to a Motorola chip, you had to relearn almost everything. The industry was waiting for a new standard, Something that could do for the 21st century what the 8051 did for the 1980s. That standard arrived from an unlikely place, a British company called ARM that didn't even manufacture its own chips. ARM had already found massive success in the mobile phone market, providing the architecture for the processors inside early cell phones. They realized that they could apply their energy-efficient RIC design to the world of microcontrollers. To ensure their success, ARM took a bold step in 2005 by acquiring Keel Software. This gave them control over the best development tools in the industry. In 2004, they introduced the Cortex-M3, an architecture specifically designed to be the perfect brain for a modern microcontroller. The genius of ARM's strategy was the Design Start program. They allowed semiconductor companies to license the Cortex-M design with very low upfront costs. Instead of spending years and millions of dollars designing their own architecture, companies like STMicroelectronics and NXP could simply drop in the ARM core and focus on adding their own specialized peripherals. This led to a massive wave of standardization. Suddenly, the same piece of code could run on chips from dozens of different manufacturers. In 2007, STMicroelectronics launched a product that would change the landscape forever, the STM32 series. They specifically targeted the Chinese market, which was rapidly becoming the manufacturing capital of the world. The STM32F1 was a revelation. It offered 32-bit performance at a price point that was competitive with older 8-bit chips. It was packed with features like high-speed analog-to-digital converters, USB support, and CAN bus for automotive use. The success of the STM32 was bolstered by the release of the STM32 Cube and HIL libraries. These software tools made it incredibly easy for engineers to set up complex peripherals without needing to understand every single register on the chip. It was like going from building a car from scratch to assembling one from high-quality parts. Because of this ease of use, the STM32 became the go-to platform for a new generation of engineers, and it remains one of the most dominant forces in the industry today. While the professional world was being transformed by ARM and STMicro, a different kind of revolution was brewing in an Italian design school. In the mid-2000s, students and artists wanted to use electronics in their projects, but the existing tools were far too difficult for non-engineers. This need led to the creation of the Arduino. The heart of the original Arduino was an AVR microcontroller, designed by two Norwegian students and manufactured by a company called Atmo. Atmo had already made a name for itself by combining the 8051 architecture with flash memory, which allowed chips to be reprogrammed thousands of times. But the AVR architecture was their real masterpiece. It was fast, efficient, and easy to understand. When the Arduino team combined this chip with a simple-to-use software interface and an open-source philosophy, they sparked the maker movement. Suddenly, anyone with a computer and $20 could build a robot, a home automation system, or a piece of interactive art. The popularity of Arduino was so great that it eventually led to major shifts in the corporate world. In 2016, Microchip, the makers of the famous PIC microcontrollers, acquired Atmel. This was a massive consolidation of power, bringing the world of professional industrial control and the world of hobbyist innovation under one roof. It ensured that the AVR architecture would continue to be supported and developed for years to come, securing its place in history. As we moved into the late 2010s, a new requirement emerged: connectivity. The Internet of Things was no longer a buzzword. It was a reality. Engineers wanted their devices to talk to the Internet, but adding Wi-Fi and Bluetooth traditionally required expensive and bulky external modules. A Chinese company called ESP32 Systems saw this gap in the market and released the ESP8266, followed by the even more powerful ESP32 in 2016. The ESP32 was a marvel of integration. It packed a powerful dual-core processor, Wi-Fi, and dual-mode Bluetooth into a single, incredibly cheap chip. It was an instant sensation. Makers and professional engineers alike flocked to the ESP32 because it made wireless communication as simple as blinking an LED. It shifted the center of gravity in the MCU world, proving that Chinese companies could not only manufacture chips but also design world-class architectures that could compete with the established giants. Today we stand at the threshold of yet another evolution. Microcontrollers are no longer just about moving data or toggling pins. The next frontier is artificial intelligence at the edge. We are seeing the rise of AI-enabled MCUs that can perform facial recognition, voice processing, and predictive maintenance directly on the device without needing to send data to the cloud. This means your devices will become smarter, faster, and more private, processing your information right where it is created. The history of the microcontroller is a story of relentless integration and simplification. It is a journey from massive cabinets of electronics to a single grain of silicon that can hold an entire world of logic. It teaches us that true power does not always come from the biggest or fastest machine, but from the one that is most adaptable, most reliable, and most integrated into the lives of the people it serves. The MCU is the ultimate tool of the modern age, a silent partner in our quest to master the physical world through digital intelligence. As you reflect on this journey, I have a lesson to share with you that applies far beyond the world of engineering. In our own lives, we often try to multitask like a CPU, spreading our attention across 1,000 different things, often resulting in stress and inefficiency. Perhaps we should strive to be more like the MCU, find your integrated purpose. Focus your energy on being self-contained, reliable, and exceptionally good at the core tasks that define who you are. When you integrate your skills, your passion, and your actions into one coherent life, you become far more effective than when you are scattered. The question I leave you with is this. In your own life, what is the single chip you are trying to build? What is that one area where you want to be the most reliable and efficient version of yourself? Think about the silent systems in your life that you take for granted, and consider how much effort went into making them appear so simple. Interaction is what drives us forward, so please share your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel to join our journey through the wonders of technology.